What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from the altar again, and this time we are here with Melody and Samuel of Liliac. It is so great to be able to talk with you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Anytime, anytime. It's an honor. I saw you guys play live when you covered Rainbow in the Dark, and I gotta tell you, that I think may be the best cover in metal history. So it's great to be able to finally talk with you. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you. That's such a huge compliment. That means a lot to us.
Yeah, anytime, anytime. It means a lot to really bring new life to that song, as well as Master of Puppets and The Trooper and so many classics. But we got awesome original material from you over the years with the Chain of Thorns and the Queen of Hearts album. And I know that you are working on some new stuff now. Are you sort of like picking up where you left off after Queen of Hearts, or are you going to step into brand new territory and like shock people even more?
We're definitely stepping into brand new territory on this next album. And we honestly, I think it's something that is going to shock the crowd, but it's still Liliac, so it's still our sound, but definitely there's going to be a lot of new stuff to it.
Yeah, I just feel like we're taking it to a whole new level.
Exactly.
And I feel like everyone will appreciate it because it's still like rock and metal music, but it's just more, I don't know, I guess has like a modern twist to it.
Do you, when you make new material, are you entering it with like a preconceived vision or an idea that you already had in mind, or has your songwriting process been very experimental and like you kind of just wing it with the songwriting process?
Well, I mean, when you say wing it, like we do experiment a lot, especially in the recording process. Like we try to come up with ideas and stuff like that. But normally we try to come up with songs and we bring it to each other and see if there's a song that we think could be a hit, and we work on that, you know what I mean? But definitely when we're recording, we try to add, to make it more better and stuff like that, we layer things and we make, you know what I mean? Just like the production side of it is always like, just
more intense.
Yeah, more enhanced, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm. Well, when I listen to Queen of Hearts, you know, a track like Nothing has a very different vibe compared to a song like Dear Father or Sail Away. Every song has its own unique emotion behind it. Is every song, whether it be lyrically or instrumentally, reflective of an emotion that you are all particularly feeling in a way? Or has music always been an escapism and you don't necessarily bring your personal emotions or feelings into it?
I personally, like, when I write songs, I always try to, like, make sure it's something that I can feel or relate to, if that makes sense. Definitely using my emotions to let the songs flow and stuff like that. That's how I work, like, creatively. That's how I process things and stuff like that.
Yeah.
How do you write?
I would say it would kind of be both, because the way I write lyrics, I kind of make up a story and pretend to be that person. Oh, how would they relate to this situation? Or how would I relate to it if I was put into this situation? Not even if I even went through it at all. But yeah, I would create this whole like story and backstory behind it and just go off of that.
So kind of
On
like
lyrics line.
Well, it's funny too because when I look at your photo shoots in a way, like I think that you know Liliac is just as appealing visually as it is sonically as well. Do you almost feel like maybe in a way you're sort of portraying characters or people outside of who Melody and Samuel and everybody else in the band is?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I mean, I feel like that's the fun side of it too. It's like you can,
Be very creative.
yeah, and artistic and just like, I don't know, it's kind of like acting. You know what I mean? It's like you become something that you normally are not. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the beauty of like creativity and music.
Was this always the vision for Liliac since you and your siblings formed together, or did this kind of just happen over the years?
I feel like it happened over the years
Yeah.
for sure. Because when we first started, we honestly did not know where it would have gone, because we're always busking on the Santa Monica Pier, and we always just thought that was the life. But as we progressed and got more fans, we're like, okay, we'll put a style into it. So we did. We started putting the vampire look, the what do you call it, Victorian?
Yeah, Gothic
Gothic
Victorian.
Victorian, and we're like, okay, it's cool, but sometimes we just like to change, like you said, like our character sometimes, experiment with different outfits, different looks, So yeah.
When I would show people Liliac and they would see the photo shoots, you'd be amazed on how surprised everybody is when they find out you're not from Norway or Sweden or something like that.
Really?
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Yeah. But,
Our parents are from Romania, so I mean that's a cool thing.
okay, and that's even more metal than
Yeah.
Norway or Sweden. So there you go. One thing I wanted to know too is because I think both your covers and your original material are equally intriguing. Do you have though, like, are you attached to that type of music a little bit differently though when you're covering somebody's material versus your own? Does it almost feel like you're expressing a different side of who you are or expressing something different altogether?
Yeah, I would say so. Cause like when you play somebody, it's like already somebody's story. But when you write your own music, it's like you're kind of your own story. And it's like, oh, it's so cool that this is my stuff that it's gonna be put out so that else people can hear what I gotta say when I write music. But it feels, they both feel good.
I wanted to know too, in terms of like the music that you incorporate too, with the visuals and the stuff that you're writing now, because I feel you mentioned you're experimenting sonically. Are we going to see visually a different side of Liliac as well?
I mean, well, we kind of like gave a sneak peek a little bit with like recent photo shoots that we've done, and basically this new tour that we're gonna have is called Madness, and we're still trying to like, we don't want to reveal like the album name, but like
Of course.
it's kind of like towards that, you know,
Concept.
So basically, we are kind of looking like the style that this album is going to kind of portray.
Very like Euphoria
And like, I don't know, kind of, how do I say it? Like the recent photo shoot where we look like clowns, like with white makeup and like the like dark eyeshadows and stuff like that. And it's just like basically the concept is just like we're going mad, you know what I mean? But in our minds, like mad is like a sane thing. Like we're not insane, but because we're in a mad world, we think that being mad is like normal.
Yeah, I think it represents a great essence of catharsis. I think, you know, when we are at our most mad, our art is at its best, right?
Yes, that's exactly what we're trying to say.
But, you know, and we're going to obviously see this side of Liliac when you're on stage, but like when you're in the studio or you're rehearsing together and stuff where there isn't an audience and you're just amongst each other, do you almost have to put yourself in that same mindset in a way? Or when you're trying to perfect the material and write it, you kind of have to kind of be a little bit more focused and kind of put the character element sort of aside?
So that's an interesting question. When it comes to like you said, recording music and stuff,
Yeah.
I feel
For me, vocally, yeah. I would have to like give it my all just as much as I do performing to people.
I mean, yeah, but like for me, I just feel like I don't really think about the character that much. I just focus on what, you know, the music requires or what it needs to, you know, be. I don't know how to explain it well, but like I don't really think about the character that much when I like am writing the music, if that makes sense.
100%. Because I've always wondered, like Gawar, for example, they're not dressed that way when they're in the studio, and I've wondered if, like, you know, if they almost have to sometimes.
Oh, that's what you mean. I thought you meant like performance wise and like
Both.
your art and like the outfits. I mean, I usually wear my PJs when I'm recording or thing.
And is it better when you're writing material together? Because when people tell me all the time, oh, when we wrote this album, we were all in agreement and we all had this mutual vision, I don't always believe him, because you're in a band with 5 people, you're making a dozen or so songs, there'll be plenty of room for disagreement there. But could everybody having different ideas or different perspectives maybe actually help enhance the song, maybe bringing a little bit of contrast and diversity?
Well, I mean, it definitely does. I mean, obviously, you know, we have all our like disagreements, but sometimes, you know, someone would have a better idea than someone else, and we would have to all agree to go with that. You know what I mean? For, you know, the good of the song or whatever it is we need to do. But what was I gonna say? See, I forgot.
Mhm.
I was gonna say I forgot. But yeah, basically, at the end of the day, we just have to go with what's best.
Mhm. Well, and I know probably every interview you've all done, they asked, being siblings in a band together. It is a great quote I heard on CBS: "A family that rocks together stays together." But I've interviewed, like I interviewed the Cavaleras. I've interviewed The Warning, which is another great up and coming band consisting of siblings. It's not just you're bounded together by rock, but you're bounded together by blood as well. And I think that brings something that, guys who met at a club or something like that don't necessarily have. Do you think that maybe that experience makes you different than other bands in a way?
I feel like it does. I just feel like being a family, we have a better connection and we understand each other more than if it was just friends. Because I don't know how to explain it. It's just,
I get it, because like emotionally you understand each other. Because if you look down, like, what's wrong? But with friends, they're always hiding something and you don't really know. But yeah.
I've noticed that because with the way I describe Liliac's music is music that has nothing to hide, and I think that's because you feel like you don't have anything to hide amongst each other, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Now, one question I have specific questions about each form of instrumentation. I'll start with you, Sam. For your guitar playing, is it almost sounds studied when I hear your solos in a way. Are you at all classically trained or have that theoretical background, and are you incorporating that in the songwriting?
Well, I mean, I definitely have studied music theory, but mainly on my own, like through research, just like online or like digging for, because I mean, we used to take lessons when we were young, back in like when we lived in Downey, California. But after a while, we kind of stopped, and then I just like started researching on my own, and that's where I kind of like learned the most, if that makes sense. And when I write my solos, I try to make sure it goes with, like, for example, the chord progressions behind it. You know what I mean? Not just like playing whatever, because I know some people do that and it doesn't sound that great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I like to use theory when I try to write solos, but I also like to come up with like the catchiest or like the best melodies as well.
Yeah, it's rock and roll. There's got to be plenty of rule breaking, right?
Of course, of course.
Now, Melody, being that you both sing and play bass, do you feel like those two different forms of instrumentation maybe express different sides of who you are? Do you feel like you express one side of yourself with the bass as opposed to the vocals and vice versa?
Well, yeah, for sure. Because when I play the bass and sing, it's really awesome. I loved it before. Like I love both ways, but I felt more restricted, like the way like who I am as a front person. Because when I gave the bass to my brother, it's easier to connect to the crowd, talk to the crowd, and just hype up the crowd just by like kind of moving and dancing a lot. But I definitely think it 100% did help me with my vocal potential by singing better and more freely instead of splitting my mind. Okay, this half I have to play the bass and this half I have to sing. Make sure both are on time and everything. But yeah.
Yeah. And in addition to singing and having the background in bass, there's lyrics that are incorporated as well. Did you always need to hear the music before you came up with lyrics, or does the lyrical ideas that you have maybe help guide the music that we hear?
It was kind of both. Like mostly it was music. I would have to say I have to listen to music more because when I would come up with songs, I would listen to music. I'll make a melody line, and if a word pops out, sometimes it happens where just like a word pops out, and I'm like, oh, that's a good word. I'm gonna write based off of that, you know. So we have this one song, we play it live. It's on the new record, but it's called Carousel. So we play this live. I'm pretty sure you can find it or hear it. And when we were making the song, all I said is, I'm spinning like a carousel. And then I just wrote everything off of that lyric.
It seems like inspiration tends to strike at sometimes the most strangest of times, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And I feel like that's where the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Or
Thinking too hard. Oh, I don't know if it's right or if it's perfect.
or it tends to strike at the most inconvenient of times as well, right?
Yeah.
Is it better to come up with ideas when you're all in the company of each other, or isolation being such a great fuel for creativity, you all prefer to come up with ideas when you're more alone in your own element?
Both.
For me, I feel like I come up with better ideas when I'm alone.
For me, it's both. I kind of need the music as a backup, you know, so then I would take that and then go on my own and write all the lyrics behind it, you know.
Of course. I think you have the best aspect of both writing when you're formed together and writing when you're alone. I think that it almost seems like the results differ depending on what situation you're in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when it comes to playing live, I've yet to see Liliac live except for when I saw you guys on CBS back in the day, and I can't wait to see you guys play live for the first time. Is there at all a similar energy that you channel into your live presence as you do when you're songwriting, or do you consider songwriting and playing live two completely separate forms of self-expression?
I feel like it's a little different, if you know what I mean. Like, I mean, like, we still express, like, what we're saying, you know, when we're writing the songs, and, like, when we're performing. I just feel like when we're performing, it's a whole new energy because we have people watching, and, like, we try to, like, feed off of each other.
Yeah, you have to
you know what I mean?
engage with the crowd.
Whereas if, like, writing just together, we're just, like, kind of focused on that, and we're just, like, I don't know, trying to figure out how to make it work, like with the songwriting and stuff.
Do you almost feel like you have to practice crowd interaction and stage presence as much as you have to practice the material, or is that something that just comes naturally over time?
I felt like it came naturally
that
over
came
time
naturally.
because we bussed on the pier for so many years, every single weekend, that it just came naturally to interact with the crowd. I felt if it was something more newer to us, then we would have to practice. Okay, I have to say this exactly at this time. Oh, is everybody lit? You know. But I felt like since we've been doing it for so long, performing in front of people, it flows a lot easier, and it's just easier to just come up with stuff while talking to people.
Well, you actually have an interesting advantage in terms of you've played in many different types of settings as well. 1 minute on the Santa Monica Pier, and then, you know, on America's Got Talent stage and the CBS stage, and then, you know, playing at multiple venues. Does the Liliac experience sort of change depending on the atmosphere as well?
No, I don't think it does. I feel like wherever we are, we're always gonna give it our all. You know what I mean? Like, no matter how small the audience is or how big the audience is, we're always gonna, like, put our heart out. You know what I mean? And I really hope that the audience will see that too. You know what I mean?
No, they definitely do. They definitely do. And I saved the most difficult question for last. Are you all ready?
I don't know.
And you get to decide who answers first. I won't decide. How do you know when you're finished with a song, when you're writing it? How do you know when you're done?
I feel like, well, like when we listen back and we're just like, and when the song finishes, like we're listening to the whole track, you know, and we're like really excited, we're listening, and then once it finished, we're just like,
oh,
wow,
so good.
That's it. We finally did it. But we haven't had that yet. I mean, because like we still have.
Talk about some songs we do.
Which ones?
A lot of them we do.
The songs we're not allowed to talk about yet?
Yeah.
There's something like articulate just a little bit. But,
Okay.
But no, for the most part, like the new album that we're working on, we have some songs that are pretty much done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Most
it
of
feels
them.
amazing. Like once it's done, we're just like, wow,
Finally,
I can't believe we did this.
When you can't believe you did it, I think is a great explanation. That's how you know when your song is finished, right?
I cut it to that part. Wow, I can't believe we did this. Boom.
I'm not going to, but that's a good idea. When somebody else asks you that in the future, remember that one.
Yeah.
So before we go, I want to thank you both so much for your time and for amazing music that you've given to the heavy metal community. Is there just anything else with Liliac that you would like to promote in terms of tours and when we could be expecting the new album, if you're allowed to say, of course?
Yes. So basically, our Madness tour is coming up soon. We're going to be starting in like late April, or like, and kind of like late May. Yeah, April, May, yeah, whatever. But that's when we start touring, and we'll be on tour like the whole U.S. We're going to be traveling there. like different states and everything. So please come see us at our shows because we would love to meet you guys and perform for y'all. And then obviously the new album is coming out soon. We don't have an official date yet, but we're working on it. Yeah. And we can't wait to like announce that. Like that's something I've been waiting for, you know? Well, right. Yeah. And then obviously visit our website because we have merchandise. Go to www.liliacband.com, and then obviously follow us on social media for like more content and music that we'll be posting in the future.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much. Everybody, we are here with Liliac. New stuff coming very soon. We will see you next time on Heavy New York.
All right. Rock on and rock hard.